I say Galileo is more dangerous than Calvin or Luther.
Because he asks men to think?
Because he demands change when we should be holding fast. He pushes too hard. It's all in our report.
What a pity. Galileo was such a favorite of the Pope. His Holiness even suggested the title of the book.
Not the book, but the man is the cause of the trouble. A man so vainglorious that he sets everything, all of us, up to ridicule.
Yes, I read his answer to your father, Grazie. Before that, the Jesuits were with Galileo, I thought.
He even made a mockery of the Pope. Galileo is a heretic and should burn.
Galileo is too famous to burn. He is no obscure monk like your Giordano Bruno, raving about Adam and Eve on the planet Venus. Galileo Galilei is the most famous natural philosopher in the world. We must handle this affair gingerly.
He is a heretic and should burn.
We're not in Spain. This is Italy. We haven't sent anyone to the fire in 30 years.
My instructions were to study the text of Galileo's book and make my recommendations. I have done my duty, and there are the results.
And my instructions are to punish Galileo, not destroy him.
He is already destroyed. He brought it on himself when he began prying into heaven with that devil's scepter.
In January of the year 1616, why were you called to Rome?
I came to Rome then of my own accord, so that I might find out what opinion it was proper for me to hold in the matter of the universe, and to be sure of holding none but the holy and Catholic view.
You spoke with several cardinals about these matters.
Many cardinals wish to be instructed as to the hypothesis of Copernicus, which is difficult for a layman to understand.
You mean the Copernicus theory that the Earth moves around the sun, that the Earth also turns on its own axis?
Yes.
Was any other command issued to you on this subject?
It was 17 years ago. No. Only that the Copernican theory contradicted Holy Scripture and must not be held as fact.
Signor Galilei, the command which was issued to you before witnesses stated that you must neither hold, defend, nor teach that opinion in any way whatsoever. Do you remember that?
I don't know.
Did you receive permission to write the book you acknowledge to be yours?
I didn't ask permission to write the book because I didn't think I was disobeying any command. I didn't ask permission because I had no doubt. I haven't defended the opinion that the Earth moves and the sun is stationary. Actually, I've demonstrated the opposite of the Copernican theory and have shown that the arguments of Copernicus are weak and not conclusive.
You have?
Yes.
Signor Galilei, you are well?
I am 70 years old. I have the disease of the bone, so I can barely move my arms and legs. And I have been held a prisoner here for 3 months without even knowing the charges against me.
You're not a prisoner. No person in the history of the Holy Tribunal has ever had rooms like yours in the Inquisition.
I ask for no special treatment, only for a just appraisal of the dialogue.
My dear Signor Galilei, you don't seem to realize your position. You insist on talking about your book when that is no longer the question. You still want us to believe in the rightness of your thought and the purity of your intention. You can no longer defy the Holy Office. Very high quarters wish to make an example of you. And we will have to. How far do you want to push us? If you insist, we will have to go into your motives for writing the dialogue. in which case I am very much afraid it might come out, God forbid, that you were and still are a Copernican.
And from some letters I have seen of yours, good father, perhaps you are also.
Perhaps. But I am not speaking now as Firenzuola, but as Commissary General of the Holy Inquisition.
You are saying that the authorities are not interested in the truth, but only in authority.
I'm saying that the examination of your book by the theologians is complete. And by their evidence, it is quite clear that you have lost. You did try to outwit us and affirm principles which at this time are contrary to church teaching. And may I add that you also threw in a couple of propositions which directly deny the divine mind? You know where that puts you. We should have to question you rigorously, by the most regrettable means if necessary. And then there would be either the stake or, mercifully, perpetual incarceration in the prison of the Holy Office. Nobody wants that. Plead forgetfulness, complacency, pride, vanity. Choose your own venial sin. And then we would have no need to examine you further. A light spanking by Mother Church, and everybody, believe me, would be much the happier.
During the past days, I have read over my printed dialogue, which I have not seen in 3 years, to see whether anything might have, by inadvertence, fallen from my pen which a reader or the authorities might think disobedient on my part. I freely confess that a reader, ignorant of my real purpose, might misunderstand the meaning of my book. My error then has been, and I freely confess it, one of vainglorious ambition and pure ignorance.
Do you now hold, or have you ever held, that the sun is the center of the world and that the earth moves around it and is not the center of the world?
No. I, Galileo Galilei, son of the late Vincenzo Galilei, Florentine, age 70 years, kneeling before you, having before my eyes and touching with my hands the Holy Gospels, swear that I have always believed, do believe, and by God's help will in the future believe. All that is held, preached and taught by the Holy Catholic and Apostolic Church.
opposition had silenced the most famous natural philosopher of his day. All his writings would be banned. He would be a prisoner in his own home for the rest of his life. Going blind, disgraced by his recantation, Galileo's mind and pen would not be stopped. He completed his major work, Discourses on Two New Sciences, which would become the foundation of the modern science of mechanics. Smuggled out of Italy, the Discourses were published in Protestant Holland and became the Bible for others who questioned traditional knowledge and belief. Galileo had relied on experiment, not faith, and devised the scientific method. He had challenged the authority of all past knowledge. Philosophy and religion would no longer answer man's questions into nature. The age of science had begun.